And he's holding my hand tightly, and I'm looking in his eyes, he's looking at my eyes, and I just froze, didn't know what to say to him. You know, the yearning that you have. Swami says sometimes that the yearning is actually more spiritually beneficial than actually being with Swami. But I was there yearning, and I was also there with Swami.
Sairam, dear listeners, welcome to Sai SOUL 100. Our guest today is Brother Piyush Ghayal, who is joining us from Somerset, New Jersey. Sairam, Brother Piyush, thank you for joining Sai SOUL 100.
Sairam, sister.
Sairam, please share your story.
So, all of us have different stories, how we came into to Swami's fold. I always feel that Swami has known us for many, many births. We've just, especially I've just known him in this birth. And that happened in the early 1980s. But before that, I'd like to touch on a little bit of my personal background, which was that my paternal grandparents, my grandfather, had this thing. They used to live in a small village in India, in Gujarat, and his thing was that anybody that came to the home, regardless of time of day, they were always offered a meal, whether it was breakfast time, lunchtime, or dinner time. They could not leave before they had that meal. And so, he kind of had that feeling. And my grandmother was a devotee of Ambama. So that's in Gujarati. That's Mother Durga. That's our Ishta Devi, and she was very, very much devoted to that. And so I think some of that rubbed off when I was with my grandfather in my early childhood. But anyway, that's part of my grandparents' influence on where I am today. And then, of course, the other one is my parents. So with my parents, not a lot of people know about this, but my father's name is Ishwar, and my mother's maiden name was Amba. So, for us, they are our Ishwaramba. My grandparents kind of signified seva and bhakti. And in my parents' case, it was sacrifice and also bhakti. Sacrifice because I think they did a lot for their family. My dad was the eldest son, and so it was up to him to take care of all his siblings, which he did, and then also took care of all of us. And then later on in his life, back in India, they actually participated in a lot of service activities at the center in Gujarat, in Navsari. He and my mother emigrated to Uganda from India, and so all our siblings were born in Uganda. And then we lived there for a few years, and then we moved to India. And when we moved to India, all of us had also the good fortune of studying in a convent school. I think from early childhood, I was attached so much to reading. And, I've read quite a bit on Christianity and other religions. So those were the foundation years. After India, we moved to England. And in the latter part of our time in England was when we were kind of first introduced to Swami. And then what happens is Swami has the way of drawing you closer. So I'm also going to refer quite a bit to life challenges, which I also include them as blessings, because without those life challenges, I don't think we would get closer to Godhood. So the first big challenge in a big way was, Bharti and I, we lost our first son after 2 days. He was born and then he passed away in 2 days. I think that was Swami kind of, saying, all right, what are we going to do now? I think what now is kind of a common phrase that occurs with us. And then we moved to the US in 1980. And my first visit to Puttaparthi was in 1984. It was around Christmas time. And then, 1984, By then, we had a son and a daughter here, and as soon as we come back, again, the question is, okay, now I've had the first darshan, so what is it that Swami wants? And so we used to go to retreats, we used to go to centers, and the children would be attending Bal Vikas. However, I have to say they were kind of done without really focusing on why are we doing it, right? We're just doing it. It's much later on that we got introduced to the notion of we're doing this for our own spiritual growth, for our own benefit. Anyway, we continued with that. Was active at the center. Was the SSC teacher, was the SSC coordinator. And it was during that time in 1997, 1998, which I fully kind of was immersed in Swami's teachings and Swami's work. And on that occasion, we had the opportunity to go to Puttaparthi and be part of Paduka Puja. So my parents had the good fortune to be part of Paduka Puja in 1998. And it was such a wonderful experience to be all of us together, siblings and parents. And we would all march in the early hours of the morning. We would all march into Sai Kulwant Hall. And Swami would be there waiting. He would be waiting there as a loving mother would, waiting to see when we would come in. And it's one of those few opportunities where couples get to sit together because they do puja. And it was just a magnificent experience for all of us. And then when my parents returned back to their room in Prashanti Nilayam, they took a picture of them together. My mother is holding the Paduka, my father's there, and Swami's in the background overlooking them. So it's one of those pictures that we all relish because we believe that's that's both your birth parents as well as our eternal Father is there in one picture. And so in early 2010, took early retirement in January, right? I took retirement on Friday. On Sunday, we were on a plane to India. And so that was our first trip to India in 2010. That year, Swami also told all the countries that they could come and have a pilgrimage to Puttaparthi. And this is all kind of Swami's plan. And then, of course, if you now retrospectively look at why Swami was doing that, then it kind of all makes sense. So from the US, we decided as a national entity that we would go on a pilgrimage. So this is a national level pilgrimage. And we had such an outpouring of people wanting to go, we actually had to have two groups go. One was towards the end of June, and another one was in the beginning of July. And as a regional president, we were asked if we could be part of both the groups. So a couple of things that happened was Bharti always had this dream, if you like, of offering a rose to Swami. And so it's it's one of those things that you have it's at the back of your mind, you forget about it, but Swami remembers. So in the first group, she was asked by the organizers to prepare roses that could be offered to Swami as part of the programs. And in Puttaparthi, she didn't know the first thing about how to go about doing that. And remember, it was June, so it's very hot and everything. But she's so resourceful. She found all the right people. She talked to the right people. They gave her ideas, and she created a basket of about 12 roses for the first group in June. The other opportunity she had was also that they wanted volunteers to wheelchair some of the senior devotees from the north residences to the Sai Kulwant Hall, and she volunteered, and she has a lot of energy, and she took one of the elderly devotees, and Swami again sees that. So the first group was, they performed their whatever they had brought. People, the senior officers that were on the veranda, offered roses to Swami. And then on the last day of the first group, Swami came, and he came in in his wheelchair, stood right in front of Bharti and was looking at her and saying, "When are you going?" And so, and then at that point, Swami's voice was very, very low. And so Chakravarti said, Mr. Chakravarti said that they're staying, they're going to be part of the other group as well, the second group. So they're not leaving right now. And right there, Swami materialized Vibhuti for Bharti. And, you know, we were on the other side, of course, on the men's side, but we could feel just the thrill of that happening. And, you know, that again is something that we would never, we'd never ever forget. In the first group, as well as in the second groups, we got lots of opportunities to get Swami's Pad Namaskar. You know, he would come and he would say, we would be sitting in the front, and then he would allow us to come and take Pad Namaskar. He'd give us Vibhuti packets, and it was just a tremendous grace. He used to, he didn't come for morning darshans before our group went, but when our group was there, he was offering morning darshans and evening darshans. So then the second group came around, and really I was more part of the second group because I was more involved in the activities of the second group, including the play. And the same thing happened. The organizers asked Bharti to again, create these roses to offer to Swami, which by now she knew what to do and stuff. So she did that. And so, so what happened when we were doing a presentation, this was from the Children of America. They were presenting a play. So Swami comes out. He comes around. He comes out on the veranda, and he gives the go ahead to start the play. But before the play could start, of course, people want, you know, the people that are sitting, the officers of the organization are offering him roses. So there's two people sitting in front of us. And then there's Jonathan Roof, who was the national president at that time, and myself sitting behind them. And so normally what happens is the first group of people, they go offer the rose to Swami, and they come back and sit in their own places. And this time what happened was they offered the roses, and they went and actually sat on the other side of the veranda. So there's two spaces in front of us. So Jonathan moves and he says, come and sit next to me, right? Because you don't want to leave empty spaces. So right there, we're sitting on the veranda, and the Swami is just literally two or 3 feet away from us. And there's all these roses that Bharti had created in the basket, right? And I'm thinking, this is my chance, right? This is my opportunity. If the people that know me will say that I'm kind of discipline oriented and stuff like that. And so I'm not one to just jump up and offer a rose to Swami. I was thinking Swami has to give me some kind of a direction, some kind of a look to say it's okay to offer the rose. So I was just sitting there. Middle of the play, he actually goes back into the mandir area, and we're all thinking, oh my God, this is it, he's gone, and whether he comes back or not, we don't know. But anyway, he came back, and the play's finished. He goes down, gets the picture taken, comes back on the veranda, and calls for a couple of bhajans from the devotees. They sing the bhajans, and then he calls for arti. And I'm thinking, oh my God, my chance is gone to offer the rose to Swami, because after arti, he's just going to leave. So arti's over. He's still not looking at me. And I'm just, I'm so like, the yearning that you have. Swami says sometimes that the yearning is actually more spiritually beneficial than actually being with Swami. But I was there yearning, and I was also there with Swami. And then art is finished, and then something amazing really happened. He called for more bhajans, which is kind of an unusual thing. After first arti, then he leaves the veranda to go back to his residence. So the students sing 2 or 3 bhajans, and then he calls for a second round of arti, which is kind of really unusual, right? You just don't think of those kinds of things as happening. And as the second round of arti is finishing, he looks at me. He kind of turns around and he looks in my direction. And I'm looking at Swami all the time. I'm not going to miss an opportunity. So as soon as he looks at me, I just jump up. I jump up out of my seat, and I go and I offer the rose to Swami. So through me, he fulfilled Bharti's wish, her dream of saying, here's our offering. And, they say, what do you say to Swami, right? And he's holding my hand tightly, and I'm looking in his eyes, he's looking at my eyes, and I just froze, didn't know what to say to him. And so what happened was, I'm going to back 3 or 4 years back. There was this whole thing about a petition or a letter signing petition to Swami, requesting, pleading, begging to him to come to the US. And, at that time, I'm thinking, Swami is God. He can come to the US anytime he wants to. He doesn't need an invitation from us, right? And so I said, no, I'm not participating in that, right? And which was fine. That was just between me and Swami. So what do you think happens when I'm, in that situation? I'm there, I'm looking at Swami, he's looking at me, and I say to Swami, Swami, please come to America. Right. And so he kind of he pushes my hands together closer, just to kind of as a reassurance. I think he's saying, I'm there always with you, kind of a thing, right? But anyway, that happened, and then Aarti finished, and then I sat back down in my place, and it was just a tremendous outpouring of love that anyone can experience. Anyone can experience. And then as we were finishing up that trip, one of the last darshan, Swami came, and then he called me, and so I was taking Pad Namaskar, and then normally Swami, you just kind of blesses you. He tapped me on the head like this. And so, that it's kind of unusual. And then, people always kind of want to know what's the significance of that, right? And so some people say, he's blessing you for all the work that you have done, but he's also blessing you for all the challenges that you're going to come across, in the coming days ahead. And so, whatever it is, I was very grateful for that. And then, we came back from that trip. I do want to say here, just kind of a brief kind of history of my health, just to know that there are blessings from Swami, but Swami also gives us challenges. And every time he gives us challenges, it's hard, but we have to say this shall too pass, right? Because it's part of that. And so since my mid-30s, I've had eye issues. I had glaucoma. I've also had stomach issues, and so many other things. So all told, up till now, I've had 6 eye surgeries. I've had more than 10 colonoscopies. I've had 3 prostate surgeries, kidney stones. Kidney stones is one of those things that is extremely painful for those of you that have not had it. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. And I've noticed that as I come out of these kinds of things, there's always an opportunity for reflection. Why did it happen? Not why did it happen to me, but what can I learn from the experience? Because I fully believe in the whole theory about karma and stuff. So I always feel that whatever's happening to me is happening because of my previous karma. It's nobody's fault that it's happening, and I just have to complete my karma. Now we're in 2011, and it's end of March, April timeframe, and we all get the news that Swami is in the hospital. And so here in our region, we start doing prayers. We had bhajan sessions and things of that nature. And it was intense. Those were intense times for everybody. Not only were we praying collectively, we were also praying. Everyone was praying individually for Swami's health. And then we hear the news that Swami's taken Mahasamadhi in April. And so what we decided in the region, in New Jersey part of it, we decided that we'd hold bhajan sessions, but we'd also give people an opportunity to speak, because there was just some tremendous grief that was coming out. So in a couple of these sessions, we just we told people they can talk about whatever they would like. And at that time, now I'm 1.5 years into my retirement, and I'm feeling I have to do something, right? I can't just be sitting around all day, kind of a thing. And so what is it? What is it that I should do? My background is IT, but I didn't want to do necessarily volunteering in IT, although I did some of it. And then all of a sudden, I see this notice from AARP, actually, that this outfit called Good Grief is looking for volunteers. So I read up on it, and it turns out this organization is based in New Jersey. They provide grief support to youngsters who have lost a sibling or a parent. And I say, this is what I need to do. because in my life there was grief we experienced at the loss of our child, and my parents both passed away relatively early ages. And then Swami had the Mahasamadhi and the grief that everybody expressed. I said, this is my calling, so to speak. And so I went for an interview there. They said, yeah, you're the perfect person for this. And we do a 4-day training. You have to attend that. And then, what happened there was, it was just an amazing experience. I was facilitating preteens. So this is 10, 11, 12-year-olds. And, I learned just a tremendous amount about how people grieve. There's no timetable for grief. People feel good one day, not good the other day. Children grieve differently than adults, all those kinds of things. And so that to me is really, when you can make that kind of a difference to somebody, I think that's Swami is saying help ever, and Swami is saying love everyone. So that's one experience that, I think will stay with me forever. And then the other aspect of it is that, we have this initiative in our region called Sai Cares. And, again, I feel blessed to be part of that. I am part of the original team and still active. And what happens there is that you have to, again, without judgment, without opinion, you just have to listen to people and see what their issue is and how you can help. And so that's really my story. There's life challenges, but all good things. Swami says, accept everything that's happening to you as that's his will. And so I thank you for the opportunity to allow me to share some of these things. And thank you, Sairam.
Sairam, Brother Piyush, thank you so much for sharing your journey with Swami, starting with your grandparents teaching you the value of service, and then your parents teaching you the value of sacrifice. And then, of course, your trip to Parthi is not an accident. And yes, I wanted to start with the fact that from the beginning, you've had challenges, right? You're losing your child. I just cannot imagine. And then, of course, as time went on, Swami's been giving you experiences, like you mentioned, that's going to strengthen you and put you in a place where you can actually serve others through experience, through being able to be compassionate, being able to empathize, and just listen, no judgment, right? And so at that time, even though you were having difficult times, Swami was giving you his grace, love, and guidances. Your trip in 2010, actually your time between 2010 to 2011, in January of 2010, you get to retire so that you can start focusing on all the things that's to come that you didn't even know that Swami is preparing you for. That's and you right. Go to Bharati, and of course, Bharati gets Vibhuti and recognized and appreciated by Swami. Just recognizing that Swami is seeing me is just a precious, precious gift for Sister Bharati, and also making the flowers, roses for Swami that yes. You get to give him. I love the fact that Swami kept you waiting. He'll just wait. He didn't look at you. He knew probably if he had looked at you, he'd have jumped up. But he was testing you. I mean, what are the chances that you tend to have 2 rounds of bhajans and 2 arati, right? So something, he was churning you. He was making you yearn more and more and more, and probably fighting with your emotions of, how do I settle this within myself? It's probably not going to happen. Yes. Right. But ultimately, he rewards you, gifts you with the opportunity to give him that rose. And then, of course, call it blessing, call it protection, call it whatever we want it to be. But Swami, giving you a little blessing on your by tapping you on your head. And of course, difficult times were to come, but he took care of it and guided you through. I do want to touch up on your grief support, which is a service of uniqueness. And he gave you the strength to be at that place. He got a proper organization to train you right after you had retired, so you can actually be instrumental in his own organization.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's just, you can see Swami's hands from the beginning, even before you knew he existed in this birth.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. So thank you, Brother Piyush, for coming to Sai Soul 100 and sharing your story.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, Sairam.
Sairam, dear listeners, thank you for listening to Sai Soul 100 with Brother Piyush. I'm Prabha Swaminathan. Until next time, Jai Sairam.